Good morning, everyone. And if you don't mind, I would like you to take about 1 minute or so and give your introduction. And I am going to start at the bottom today. Alex Gray, if you would, please.
Hey, Keith. Good morning. Alex Gray from Northwest Indianapolis, and I am an equity investor.
Thank you very much. If you are not speaking, if you would mute, I'd appreciate that so that we don't get any background noise. Mr. Dave Garrison.
Morning. Dave Garrison, Mutual Omaha Mortgage. I'm located near Indianapolis. I work with wealth advisors, real estate agents and their clients in utilizing housing wealth to achieve a more sustainable retirement.
Thank you very much, David. Tony Havocks.
Hi, y'all. This is Tony Havocks at PH2. We do environmental health and safety consulting and forensic engineering, trying to manage your risks so you can go to sleep at night.
That's a win.
That's a short and sweet, man.
Short and sweet. Gloria Thomas.
Good morning. Gloria Thomas from Columbus, Ohio, with Secret Direct. We help people look better with minerals from the Dead Sea, feel better with clean nutrition, and now travel better with Club Secret. We are launching next week, so I will not be here. I'll be in Vegas for the launch. And and I am your secret agent. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. I'm starting to hate you and Jim both at the same time. I know it's strong words, but that's just the way I feel. Adele.
Come go with us.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Adele Bush. I'm coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio, originally from upstate New York. I am your personal and professional business research and telephone strategist. And what that means is we strongly believe that the telephone is a channel of service, channels of new opportunities, and a source of innovation. So if you're looking for some new prospects, you're looking for more business, new business, let us know. We can do the full gamut for you. We can do the research, help you find the ideal contacts and the companies that you want to reach, and we can make the phone calls and go directly to them. We're doing this for you while your competitors are still trying to figure things out. Adele Bush, ASB Business Services, LLC.
Thank you much. Rhoda, if you would, please. Nope, you are muted.
Good morning, all. I am your wordsmith. I'll say it for you. And we write what you read when you go on our clients' websites. So we tell the story because you don't have time to both do it and say it. So that's the service that we provide throughout the United States and Canada. We are all a team here in Indianapolis, and we say it for you.
Thank you, Rhoda. Mr. Gerald Cowan, please.
Hey, everybody. I are a lawyer, more than 30 years in this business. I work with ultra high net worth clients where I can show them how to save 50% of their death taxes. The good news is Indiana does not have a death tax, and the federal death tax does not apply until the net worth is above $11 million. I also work with a few serious injury or wrongful death cases. Only the bigger cases would I consider. A good referral for me would be a widow whose husband did not plan properly. He passed away. He had no will. He had a long, serious illness before he passed away. There was no power of attorney in place, so there had to be a guardianship created. And when they got in the hospital, he was in a coma, and he did not do a living will. So no one knew whether or not he wanted life support in terms of food and water. And he did not sign a healthcare appointment, and therefore no one really had clear authority to make medical decisions for him. So either a widow or someone who lost a close friend who did not plan properly would be a good referral for me. Thank you very much. Happy Thursday.
Thank you, Gerald. Mr. Jim Shepard, please.
Good morning. I'm on the no longer in Florida, on the northeast side of Indianapolis this morning, and it was great weather while we were there, and it's really sort of crummy here in Indianapolis today. But longtime member of CBN, good friend of Keith Rand and Rhoda Israeloff, and I always, while I'm not actively working for a number of years now, I always enjoy coming to these meetings and listening in to all of the successes that many of you are having. So have a good day, and I'll try to be here until the golf season starts.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's tough at the top, Jill. It's tough at the top. Good morning. My name is Keith Rand. I own a company called First Quality Printing. I'm a part-time printer now. I pick my clients very, very specifically. A good referral for me is anyone that has a big project. I like big projects. So if you know anyone holding a convention and they need a coordinator for stuff like that, just give me a call and I'll take care of it. I will save Mr. Dow Tippett for the last. Here's our speaker this morning. So he'll have the Dow Tippett hour or 20 minutes. So we'll make sure of that. So with that, we've got a little bit of time today because we normally have, we've been averaging just statistically somewhere between 12 to 13 people every week for the last, since January of 2021. So we have 10 on today. So that gives us a little bit of time. That'll be one of the things we're going to talk about in our, when we have our upcoming review, is how we should handle the intros. When we have these large groups on, our largest group was 18. When you have a large group on and they take a long time to intro, that just eats up a lot of time. So we'll be discussing those kinds of things. So what I'd like to do is give Dow a little bit of time more to speak, and that gives us a little more time on the Q&A. We've also been jammed a little bit on the back end on the Q&A, just because it takes us a long time to get through the intros. So we've got a little bit of time today. Dow, if you don't mind, you can unmute. The rest of us will mute. You have access to the screen, and we can get ourselves rolling here. Just as a reminder, everyone, please check the chats from time to time. Our members do put stuff in the chats. The information about Dow will be included in both the email and the video. With that, it's the Dow Tippett Show.
All right, guys. So can everybody see my screen now that I've shared? Awesome. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I'm an executive coach and a speaker. And so because I was a little concerned about what was going to happen, I took a job as an essential worker at this little company here in our town. You may have heard of them. They're called Amazon. And for several days, actually, most of the time I was there, every time I went into work, I actually worried about my boss. Not my immediate boss, but the actual boss, because Jeff Bezos, just about 9 months before that, had announced the divorce with his wife. And as much as the news media and Bezos has said it was amicable, the reality is that divorce is probably one of the greatest detriments to our communities and culture today. I was talking to a federal judge and asked him what exactly is the correlation between cases when he told us about a dramatic exponential increase in federal cases. And without blinking, without hesitation, without even a thought, he said, broken homes. 90% of my cases come from broken homes. Now, I'm not saying Bezos's kids are going to end up in jail, but what I am saying is there is a problem if we are winning at business and we are losing at home. The reality is that when we go into business and we go into work every day, our ability to make an impact on the world that most of us want to do, we want to make a positive impact, is diminished, and our optimum potential is diminished when we are having trouble at home. Why? Two reasons. Number one, we're not making the world great if our home life is a mess. And number two, if our home life is a mess, we're one human being, and that comes with us to work. Now, today, as I share with you about how we can undo that and how we can win at home as well as at work, you need to understand the 80-20 principle, right? In 20 minutes, I'm going to cover just a fraction of what goes into understanding the way that we change this for ourselves, for our clients, and for our communities. But what I want to do is I want to share with you the 7 daily choices that I teach leaders to help them have great functioning teams that thrive together. These 7 choices come to you as I talk about relationship, because I believe that to optimize your potential as a leader, you have to transform your relationships. So these choices empower leaders to do that. Now, again, you need to understand every one of these is a choice. And I've learned these choices after 30 years helping couples and families as I was in full-time ministry. And for the last 20 years, I've been instructing students in leadership through the martial arts. And so these choices come together out of both of those disciplines that I've been a part of that allow me to make an impact on others and help leaders optimize their potential. So the first choice that we have to make if we want to make a difference on our teams, but especially if we want to make a difference at home and we want quality relationships at home, is vulnerability. Now, unfortunately, when I say vulnerability, most people think, oh no, he's going to ask me to walk a tightrope here, and I'm going to have to put my whole self out there, and I've got to make sure everybody knows everything about me, and I'm just not comfortable with that. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about a practical change that is as simple as saying, I need help. The reality is none of us can do anything by ourselves, and we are designed to work together. And I need help is not I'm desperate. It's just I can't do this alone. I need you to help me. I need you. And when we say I need you, it helps other people to begin to feel the value that we offer into their lives. We offer them value and respect simply by choosing ourselves to be vulnerable. Now, the second choice we need to make is one of awareness. We want to be aware of ourselves and aware of others. Now, if you've been part of the business community for any length of time, you've probably taken an assessment or 2 or 19. And the reality is, while we take these assessments, oftentimes the assessments don't go any further than just giving us an idea. What we need to do is we need to learn to use assessments and these tools not only to understand ourselves better, but also to understand those around us. Now, in the home, the assessment I recommend is the 5 love languages assessment. Here's the reality. I knew a couple, I actually helped a couple out where they came into a marriage counseling session, and the husband had filled out a form about how their marriage was, and almost all his numbers were 7s and 8s. And the wife had filled out the same survey, and her numbers were 2s and 3s. And in tears, she sat in front of me saying, what are we going to do? And I said, what do you mean, what are you going to do? She goes, our love languages are completely different. I think the marriage is not going well. He thinks it's going great. As we began to talk, here's what we found out. His love language was gift giving. He was a gift giver. He loves, and I know him. He's one of my best friends. He will give you a gift almost every other day if he can find a way to do it when he cares about you, because that's how he shows love. Well, her love language was physical touch. And for him, physical touch was a 1 out of 10. It was the worst thing on his list. And so what we talked about is how they were both trying to tell each other that they loved each other, but they were doing it in ways that didn't communicate that because they weren't aware of each other's language. And then I talked to Lisa about Bob saying he loved her through gifts. And when I shared with her about Bob saying he loved her through gifts, and I said, how many gifts has he given you in the time of your marriage? In fact, tell me this, Lisa, how many gifts did he give you last week? And I happen to know because I talked to him, he'd given her 3 gifts that week. And all of a sudden she realized every gift over their marriage was him trying to say, I love you. She just wasn't hearing it. And as both of them began to cry, I looked at Bob and said, Bob, now it's your job to start loving your wife with physical touch. Even though it's uncomfortable for you, you need to choose that because now you're aware of her language and you need to start speaking it. Awareness can change our relationships in a moment. It can just begin to create and recreate when we've had brokenness in our relationships to let us start again because we just understand each other better. So we need to choose that. And all you need to think is, I see you. That's awareness. I see you. I see you more clearly, and I want to see you. The third choice is probably one of the two most important choices, except the last one that we'll talk about. But when we're building relationship rises and falls on two different pillars. One is safety. If we don't feel safe in our relationships, we won't be able to move forward and grow in that relationship. But again, safety isn't hard. Safety is simply showing people you matter. You matter. And we can do this in three ways. The first two are so important because the first two can turn Grinches into productive who's, right? The Grinch is the one who stole Christmas. But what transformed the Grinch? Gratitude and generosity. One little girl decided that she was going to be grateful for Christmas no matter what, and that she was going to be kind and generous to the Grinch no matter what he'd done to her. When we choose to be generous and we choose to show gratitude through our generosity, the people around us are changed. What's more, when we do that, we actually physically give off a hormone called oxytocin. And oxytocin is that hormone that makes butterflies and rainbows start floating around in your brain. We all feel better when we choose gratitude and generosity. The other choice that brings safety is listening. Just learn to listen. And we need to keep learning to listen better. I actually had the opportunity to sit with some guys at Accelerated Leadership down in Louisiana over Zoom this week, learning about listening in a way that went deeper and further than anything I'd ever done. And I realized if I can practice these new listening tools, I'm going to be able to help my daughters and my wife to know I care more. So learning to listen helps people to feel safe because it says you matter. Now, the other choice that goes with safety, and this one makes things a little more difficult, but we have to raise safety and honesty at the same time. And safety and honesty rise and fall together. If we're just saying nice things all the time, it begins to look like we don't mean what we say. If we're just telling truth and never caring for people, it begins to seem like maybe we don't really care. Safety and honesty rise and fall together. Now, again, honesty can seem difficult at times when we have to say things that are hard to say. But if we remember that even when we say hard things, it's because the person we're talking to matters, honesty becomes this simple. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's be honest with each other. Let's open ourselves up to each other so that we can understand each other better. The difficulty is most of us don't listen all the time. We're not always grateful. And sometimes it's not that we mean to be dishonest, but maybe we try to soften the truth a little bit so that we're not actually caring for people so that they become their best selves. But when that happens, relationships can fall apart unless we're willing to choose forgiveness. Listen, nobody's perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And so we have to be willing to say to each other, it's okay. When we say things that create tension or might create tension, we need to be willing to forgive each other for not being perfect. Now, there are times when trust is broken because the heartache and the hurt that's been given changes the trust dynamic so dramatically that it's never going to be restored to its previous place. But even in the midst of that, I have to be willing to let go of the bitterness and the cost of making you pay until I'm satisfied. because I'll never be satisfied if I'm trying to make someone pay. Because asking other people to pay for their wrongs and pay for the things they do wrong just digs my hole deeper. The only thing that's going to set me free to care for others well and to care for myself well is to say, it's okay. I'm going to let it go and let go of the hurt and the debt that other people owe. When you're willing to let go of the debt that other people owe you, you're set free to give more people grace. Even if the relationship never restores to the place it started before the hurt came, at least the ability to live free is raised when we are willing to forgive. And the truth is, when we live in this place of forgiveness and a willingness to forgive each other, our wrongs and our hurts and the things that go wrong, we become so free that oftentimes we're able to sustain relationships so much longer. In fact, oftentimes we'll get to the point in relationships where it's very hard for you to say something that actually offends me. Because the reality is, all of us can be offensive, but it's up to me whether or not I take offense. My best friend Dale proves this out consistently when I'll say things to him like, I'm sorry about whatever. And he usually says, I'm not offended. I'm not offended, because our love for each other as friends allows us to get past that. In my home, with my wife, this is what causes our marriage to continue to move from a good marriage to a great marriage, is because we're willing to accept we're not perfect, but we're moving in the same direction together. And because we're not holding on to bitterness, we're able to restore and recreate relationship even when it's been damaged or broken. The sixth choice we need to make, and these all go together, and you'll notice how they build on each other, is integrity. Integrity is the choice to be clear, consistent, with good character. Now, the word integrity actually takes us back to the beginning of what we were talking about. We are one whole person. But when we try to live separate at home than we do at work, and we try to learn all these leadership principles and practice all these leadership principles and these relationship principles at home or at work, but we don't practice them at home, we are not one person. Integrity suggests that you're always the same. And so what you want to do with integrity is you want to be very clear about who you are, so that you're the same person at home, you're the same person in the community, and you're the same person at work. And that person is an honest, open person, not sharing all your truck with everybody, but being willing to let other people see you clearly. When we have clarity and consistency, most people think that's integrity. The problem is Hitler was clear and consistent, right? We need good character as part of that to be true integrity. True integrity includes good character and this desire that most of us have to make a positive difference in the world. We don't get into business, most of us, just to make money. Most of us are in business because we want to use our skills to make a positive difference for others. So we need to be clear and consistent, but we also need good character. Now notice, with integrity, I keep saying consistency, not perfection. We will fail. We will miss it some days. We will have moments that are difficult. But if we will continue to choose integrity and see our north and know what our perfect north is and strive for that perfect north again and again and again, people will begin to trust us more because they know who we are. They know clearly where we're going, and they see us reaching for that positive impact over and over and over again. So that when we fail, they accept our apologies. This is how we sustain relationships over long periods of time. Now, having shared with you all 6 of these choices, vulnerability, awareness, safety, honesty, forgiveness, and integrity, there is one choice that we struggle to make every day. Because when we hear even the word, we usually are taken aback because for so long this word has been used wrong by so many people. And this one word creates so much havoc for people that we struggle to make what is the foundational choice for all the other choices. I call it the bedrock choice. If you don't make this next choice, all the rest of them are going to begin to fall apart. And your entry to healthy, empowered relationships is going to come down. So what is that choice? Submission. We don't like the word submission, especially as Americans. We don't like the word submission. If you are a woman who has ever been told by a preacher or someone else you're to submit to your husband, and that has been something that's forced on you, this makes us uncomfortable. And men, the idea of submission just goes against the grain of who we are. But here's the reality. The reason most of us struggle with it is we misunderstand submission for subjugation. Subjugation is when I'm forced to my knees by someone who is more powerful than I am. And I'm made to serve by someone who has some sort of hold over me. But submission is a choice to surrender. When I'm the powerful one, when I'm the one who has the strength, when I'm the one who has the ability to make the biggest difference, I decide to put you ahead of me. I choose that. It's not forced on me. It's not required of me. That's abuse. That's oppression. That's subjugation. Submission is when I choose to put you ahead of me. And I have all the freedom and all the power and all the joy that comes with putting you first. And so all of these choices come down to this one. Am I willing to put those in my home ahead of myself? Am I willing to put their needs, their wants, their desires, their agendas ahead of my own? Am I more concerned about them than I am about me? When I am, that makes me vulnerable. When I am, I'm going to try to see them more clearly. When I choose to put you ahead of me, then in that moment, I'm going to want to listen to you. I'm going to want to be grateful for all that you've given me, and I'm going to want to express that gratitude through generosity. I'm going to want to tell you the truth for your sake, not mine. And when you make a mistake, the truth is you're more important than I am, and it's going to be okay. And I'm going to trust, and I'm going to consistently strive to give you a true person who is the same all the time, because you are more important than me. And I choose that. That is true submission. You see, here's the thing. At the end of our life, when everything is measured, none of it will be on a spreadsheet. None of it will be about how much we earned or how much we achieved in life. In fact, the measurement will be made by people who gather around to tell stories of the difference we made in their life when we're not even there to defend ourselves. Your life, your leadership is measured in relationships. So if we want to be the positive impact, the change agents in our world that we get into business, most of us get into business to do, we need to make sure that we're choosing relationship at home as much, if not more, than at work. So I want to encourage you to begin to think about the choices it takes to really lead out and to care for others in your home, and choose relationship today. Thank you.
Hey, Dow.
Yes, sir.
This is a topic that is powerful for business people. I cannot tell you the number of times I've had calls from fellow business owners who go, my business is great. I'm on my second divorce, and I'm on my third divorce, or I have no idea what my children are doing. I have no idea what my wife is doing. it would be nice if, I don't know if it would be nice, it'd be interesting if you could divorce your family life from your business life. It just doesn't happen that way. You mentioned these two things about this thing about safety. I've had this discussion with other business owners, and we talk about that safe thing in terms of physical safety for your family and emotional safety for your family. We're grown people here on this thing. So if a guy cheats on his spouse and she does not feel emotionally safe, buddy, she's coming after you, and your business might be challenged. I don't know how many times we've seen in the Wall Street Journal where Jeff Bezos he just happened to be at the top of the moon there, but story after story after story of guys who've built great businesses and then not been able to sustain it on a family level because either their wives or their children come after them. So yeah, I just think that it's very, very important to, as much as possible, to have some kind of balance in this business work relationship. I've always fought it. It's tough, but it's got to be dealt with. I'm going to shut up and get off my soapbox on it because I think it's a real deal, and it's ignored in business because, all I got to do is just go out and make money, right? Just go make some money. Okay, I got a couple of other. Go ahead.
Gloria and Adele both have things.
Adele?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Dell, this was a very powerful presentation today, and I think we all needed to hear this. No, like you said, nobody's perfect. Nobody has a perfect home life. And I know there are times when I go out into the business world and I feel like I lead a double life. I'm wonderful out in the business world. I come home and I'm very unhappy because of the way things are in my marriage. And this has certainly made me think about some things. And thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
Go ahead, Gloria.
I just wanted to say that it's definitely an issue, especially when you go out and it's kind of like dog eat dog or whatever, and you're kind of fighting to do what you need to do. But when you come home, you have to change hats. You have to leave all of that stuff behind. For me, being a housewife for most of our career together, if the person at home doesn't understand sometimes the things that you go through in the work world, and if that person doesn't choose to overlook some things or forget some things, or even to directly talk about some things that need to be talked about, then you do lose contact with each other and the relationship does go downhill. So this is very powerful.
And Gloria, you're welcome. One of the things we noticed too is a lot of us thought everything was okay when we saw each other 3.5 hours a day and then went to bed. But when we had to come home and be with each other all day, every day, and all those little things that we could just kind of gloss over in 4 hours started rising to the top. It created a lot of problems in homes and in families. And the reality is this: you can win in both places, but it takes choice. And it takes a willingness to make those choices and learn the skills to do that. I showed the iceberg. Honestly, this talk that you just got, I think I got it in 20 minutes, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But this talk is a 7-hour presentation that I dive deep with people, and I do coaching to help people over long-term practice these skills, because they're not natural, they're not easy, they are a choice, but we can win in both places. I just want to encourage you, you can. It's just going to take some choice and some time and some effort. It takes work.
Yeah, communication. It takes a lot of communication, because there are days, when you come home and it's like you've had it. And so I know for me, when my husband would come home, conversation was not the first thing he wanted. Okay. And it wasn't that he wanted to be alone all evening or whatever, but just I walked in the door, give me a few minutes to change hats, so to speak. And then it's like after dinner or whatever, then we could talk about some things. But again, yes, it's like you say, you have to know what the love languages are. You have to put in that effort to learn what they are, and you have to communicate.
Yeah, this is, I'm kind of like you, Dow. I deal with young couples from time to time, and especially young, aggressive business people who like they want to build their empire. And I say to them, if you build your empire on shaky ground, you can forget it. That empire will fall apart. And just to comment on this thing, one of the things I hear most often is, especially from guys, she talks too much. I don't want to hear it. This is not going to work, buddy. It's not going to work. And there's a song I always tell them by Johnny Taylor. It said, "It's cheaper to keep her. It's cheaper to keep her." It's not going to work. So you're going to have to figure something out if you want to stay there. Once again, this is grown people I'm dealing with. Yeah. If you want to stay there, but you can't tell me you want to stay there, you do nothing and think there's not going to be any consequences. It's not going to happen. Adele, you had your hand up before I just start running off at the mouth. Go ahead.
Oh, that's fine, Keith. I just want to say I have that book by Gary Chapman, The 7 Love Languages. And I've had to read it to understand my husband's. I've been married for 38 years. And, I had to understand his love language and he had to understand mine. And one thing that I've learned is you cannot change his love language. You can't change it. I've tried.
Yeah. You just have to learn to speak it.
Yeah, exactly. So, this plus the book has been very, very empowering for me. And thank you. Hopefully I have 38 more years with him. So
absolutely.
Go ahead, Gloria. Gloria, can you speak a little louder? Because we're having trouble hearing you.
Okay, there's another book. It's called Love Life. It's by Dr. Ed Wheat. It's for every married couple. It's an excellent book as well.
Just put that in the chat too, Gloria.
I'm going to recommend 2 other books, if I can, real quick.
Sure. You got plenty of time.
You should check out. One of those is 7 Daily Choices by Dow Tippett. And the other one is Submission by Dow Tippett. So I recommend both those books. Go out. Amazon's got them. Grab them. They're on audio, print, ebook, whatever you need.
No problem. Yeah, this issue of home and work, especially, I don't know if you get, once again, I read these articles in the Wall Street Journal. One of the conflicts that's happening is people who have been forced together at home. Oddly enough, the number of divorces is down, not because people don't want to get divorced, they just couldn't go nowhere. But one of the anticipated things that's they believe will happen is the number of divorces will explode. If you are in business, it's one of the fastest ways to lose money. This is for you and your primary individual to disconnect. Man, it's the real. Jeff Bezos Jeff Bezos gave up $30 billion, $30 billion.
And he's okay, but I would not be okay with that.
It's not the point. 30 billion. So if you think that people won't make decisions because of money, he gave up $30 billion. 30 billion. You don't have friends of mine. 10 million. Like, that's real money where I come from, right? But it doesn't matter if you're not happy or if you haven't been taken care of. But that's 10 million down the drain. Gerald.
Dow, that was an excellent presentation. I have the book also on love languages. You delivered it beautifully. Tremendous eye contact. Well explained. I'm wondering, do you have short listing of each of those 7 choices that you could post?
I do. Do you want me to post it here? Or do you want me to send it to Keith and have him send it out?
Keith likes it, I think.
Okay. That poster of the 7 daily choices, there's a link on my website. You can go grab that. So I'll post that, and you can go just grab that where you have that Tory. So
that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
So Dow, when you're
Yes.
working, you're usually working with a couple at the same time. Is that right?
Well, if I'm talking about marriage, yes. Typically, I'm teaching these same choices to leaders in business to use these same choices to have good relationships with your team. When I was in ministry, I used these choices with couples. And yeah, I'd have husbands and wives together. Now, I have taught, I had one client who we walked through this stuff for him because he said, if I don't change, nothing will change. So help me to change. And so I was helping him to change and make a difference. These choices, they work in every relationship, but he was trying to change things at home. The truth is, unfortunately, in that case, because his wife was not willing to let him change or to make changes, she just decided to give up on him anyways. He fought. I mean, he tried to be but as he moves into a new life that is difficult, it's less difficult because the rest of his relationships are better because he's changing himself by making these choices wherever he can.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that right now I'm in a difficult relationship with one of the subcontractors that works for me. Mm-hmm. And I am willing to let go. You know, that was yesterday, let's do today. What if the other person isn't willing to let go?
Well, if they're not willing to live in this place of forgiveness, then my recommendation is try to go back to listening. I would tell you, Accelerated Leadership out of Louisiana that I shared about, they do a listening track that goes beyond any understanding of listening that I've ever had and fits this model. So actually, they and I are talking about how I use their model for my model. But it allows the other person, they're listening to, allows the other person to actually feel in their emotions how much they matter to you, even when you don't give up on something that's wrong. Now, a lot of times in business, what happens is, and I would be curious, Rhoda, you probably don't know, what happens is there's something else going on in the background that we don't know about, that we're not privy to. And that's a difficult place to be if they're not willing to share. But your willingness to listen can change the relationship in that situation. And sometimes, even when I'm willing to forgive, the relationship still breaks, but I don't have to break. And I don't have to break you. Can I tell one more story? We got time? Real quick?
Yeah, we got time.
I got a friend. His name is Ford Taylor. He also teaches leadership. And he owned a business where they would hire ex-felons to work in their business because they wanted to help them reestablish life. And one of their poster boys had become an assistant manager at the shop. And long story short, without any doubt, he had stolen some money. And when they called him on it, he wouldn't confess. And Ford said, I'm going to my office, and if you don't stop me before I get to my office to tell me the truth, I'm going to have to make some very difficult decisions. And Ford went into his office, and just as he was about to close the door, the guy came running down the hall and said, Ford, I'm sorry. I did it. Ford said, sorry, it's too late. And he shut the door. He said, and then I sat down and cried. But 3 months later, after letting that guy go, he called Ford and said, can we talk? And Ford was ready because he'd forgiven in advance. And they went and had lunch. Come to find out, he was starting to use again. And if Ford had not called him out, he would have gone back down his old path and ended up back in prison. But because Ford called him out, he started a new job. He got in a new location and he started fresh and clean and had been clean ever since. And he thanked Ford for being honest, even though the relationship had to change. Ford still loved that guy. So we can be willing to forgive it, and we need to be willing to forgive, but sometimes the relationship still has to change. And it's not because we want it to, it's because there's just no other option for either of us to find restoration. And it usually is best for both people. So that's my encouragement.
Yeah. Once again, this discussion is about home and business. Sometimes in a home, certain decisions will be made, need to be made for the health and safety for all the members involved. And you may not like the outcome, but those decisions may need to be made. And it's tough.
Right.
I wish, once again, I got war stories of people I've worked with who you would go, just the nicest guy, until you talk to his wife or his children.
Yeah.
And then you go, whoa, who is this? I don't know that person. So, I think we all just need to be aware that it takes some work. Gloria, you said it best. It takes some work. It takes giving that person 10 minutes to cool down, whatever it is. Finding them where they are in their space at that time and confronting them when you're upset, that's not going to win. Trust me on that. It is not going to win. So, Dow, great message. We don't talk that much about it in business, the importance of like, as a matter of fact, nowadays it's like, what kind of work-life balance? There's no such thing as work-life balance. Yeah. Okay. Then you're going to get these results. You get these kinds of results.
Well, intentionality.
So, Dow, in closing, you got anything else to add?
Intentionality will fix the balance issue. I just need to be intentional when I'm with my family and intentional when I'm at work. And if I can help the people at work understand, I got a family and they're more important than you are. And I love you, but they come first. And this is hard. And even in the home, we got to get our priorities right, our people priorities right, because otherwise it starts to mess things up. I've got a friend right now who is struggling because his wife is prioritizing the children with another reason and another reason and another reason. And he's feeling abandoned and left. Well, the reality is, as much as I love my children and I adore them, I have 4 daughters. I've taught them all to protect themselves. They're all black belts, so don't mess with them. I love them. My first one's off at college. It kills me inside. They all know I'd rather be with their mom. As much as I love them, I'd rather be with their mom. And their mom would rather be with me. And it's not because we don't adore them to death and we all want to be together as much as possible, but because if we have to choose, we're going to choose each other first and then the children. And the children are better off. The children win in that situation. So that let me just remind you, this is a choice. This is a choice. And if you choose relationship first, you can win in both places. If you need more, let me just say, I really love teaching business leaders how to do this with their teams. But if you know a business leader who needs help at home too, those are great clients for me, and I would love to help them as well. And I want to help everybody win. The truth is, relational skills. I mean, we talked about home and business right now. I could have talked about race relations today and talked about the same 7 choices. If we're not making the other person more important than ourselves, we're going to continue to struggle with each other. But when I begin to see other people and say, you know what, I'm going to lift you up every time. I'm going to lift up other people. It doesn't matter what their religion is. It doesn't matter what their choices are. It doesn't matter what their race is. None of that matters when I'm willing to put other people first. They win and I win. So choose relationship. Thanks.
Wow, powerful message. Every once in a while, we get that's why we do this, right? This is why we do it. We can always talk about business. That's never going to end. But your life is, I hope, is more than business. I just hope it is. Because if it's only business, wow, you might want to think that through. You might want to think that through. So with that, we're going to end a little early today. Thank you all for coming. Dow, powerful message. Thank you so much. We'll work out the deep. Gerald.
For people of faith, praying about these items can be quite helpful. It's helped me a lot. I don't have a perfect marriage, but I'm trying.
Well, if you have a perfect marriage, or even if you had a perfect ex marriage, raise your hand. Ain't no hands going up, Gerald. Ain't no hands going to go up. So no, your point's well taken, Gerald. Dow said be intentional. How you are intentional, that'll be your decision. With that, I want to say thank you, Dow. And I will somehow next week, we'll get it all figured out. So I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for your presentation. Bye-bye.